It came out recently that another powerhouse is possibly going to merge with Warner Brother Discovery.
So two powerhouses are going to merge.
Yeah.
The tree is the branches on the tree. It keeps getting smaller and smaller, or rather less branches. Um,
I mean, if Paramount, which is who's said to be merging, if Paramount merges with Discovery slash Warner Brothers, and that is one conglomerate, they will that's pretty much it for streaming. It's going to be that and Disney.
yeah,
I mean, there's really not any other competitor. They're small potatoes because they're either a subsidiary of one or the other.
yeah, or Disney. But yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm saying of the conglomerate or Disney.
yeah. There used to be like the big seven, and now it's like
It's
there's
like the
only
big
like
two.
three. Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It would have made college a lot easier if it was only two of them. I used to have to know it by heart. It would have made life a lot easier back then.
Well,
But it's
I mean,
kind of
what you think? Let's talk about it. I know you have some ties to some of these industries, and
I'm a former employee of Paramount Global, although it was not called Paramount Global when I worked there. It was simply called Viacom.
right,
So, and it's gone through multiple iterations since then.
right.
Um, Listen, I think, and I might get killed by the anti-capitalists here, but I think that growth is always great. I think the problem, as the small fish in the company, I think the problem comes when changes happen and jobs are lost, restructuring
Hmm. Hmm.
happens, things like that. I don't. I get nervous about the. I know that media is a bunch of monopolies, right? I think there's another word that defines multi monopolies, but it escapes me right now. But
I mean,
I know that that's the way the media industry exists, right? Like
yeah.
even on the advertising side, you have like your big six agencies
In
that
most industries, there's
control,
five or six companies that control everything.
right? But when you make such a small number smaller, you know, it could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing, right?
Correct.
Like it will, I think from a content perspective, I think the possibilities become endless, right? Like
Yeah.
as a member of the audience, we will probably benefit quite a bit from them collaborating. Whether
Right.
it be something as simple as, oh, I'm going on this streaming site and now I can see a show from over there, over here,
Right.
and it's convenient because I already pay for this one or whatever. But then that
Right.
also means that our fees will probably go up again, right?
Correct.
Um,
Yep. That's the
and
first
then,
thing I thought about. I was like, well, second thing. First thing I thought was, man, there will really only be them and Disney at this point.
yeah,
Second thing I thought about was if they own so much of the streaming stuff and it'll all be on one platform, which is what I assume they're going to do because that's what they did with the Discovery stuff, then yeah, we're going to be paying more for streaming. That's what that means, which is
right.
already happening, by the way.
And because it's a merger and it's not a straight up acquisition,
Right.
there may be some separation, right? Like it may have, like you said, those other companies are subsidiaries, and that's maybe how they'll do it. They'll have one name, and then they'll have the different branches on their tree now.
Right.
So we may not see the Paramount Plus app and the Max app necessarily become one. What we may see is that we can access one from the other.
Right.
Um, or I'm wrong. And they
Or it could be like what
come
Disney's doing. Disney currently has bundles where you could
right,
do everything together or you could do
right.
separate.
I think it'll be more like that, right? I think that there will
Yeah.
be some sort of division because I think that each title does service a different need. And I would be really curious to see what MTV, and when I say MTV, I mean MTV Media Group. I would be really interested because there's about, I want to say, has to be about 20 titles under MTV Media Group, maybe
Oh
15 to
wow.
20, if
I didn't
not a
even know
little
it was
bit
that
more
many.
than that. Yeah, because when you think about the Paramount umbrella, I think there's a total of like 30 networks,
Okay.
give or take. They might have changed and morphed into things over the years, but more or less it's around that number. And
Right.
just with under, and MTV is the largest group. And MTV has, I think,
Mm,
about 15 to 20 titles. I would be curious to see what those divisions, how they deal with that, right?
got it.
Because Max, you can kind of say, okay, it's mostly movies, or it's like all of that discovery content. It's like those reality shows, like, you know, the Pimple Popper and Sex Sent Me to the ER and things like that. There's all of that.
Yep. The
You
stuff
should.
I stay completely away from.
I don't know why you stay away from that. When you do sexual intellectual, you should totally watch Sex Sent Me to the
Doctor.
ER.
Oh, maybe for that one, but that pimple popper stuff. Oof.
I think that would be hilarious if you did a deep dive on sexual intellectual about why
About
people
sex
get
sent me
sent
to
to
the
the
ER?
ER.
Maybe.
That would be so good. It's such a fascinating thing too. People would be like, "Oh my gosh, they showed." And the funny thing is when they don't want to tell the doctor how it happened.
Oh, I would imagine, yeah. I would imagine that happens often.
Yeah, it does. It does. But anyway,
Because you don't want to say I stuck my penis in a cucumber or some craziness. Like,
right. Or like a couple uses some sort of device or some sort of object and then they get stuck together and things like
right.
that. Yeah. It's yeah. Or like a man can't get his penis to become
Arise.
flaccid. Yeah. His penis has been erect for like 5 hours
Oh,
and
the
he
opposite. Right, the
yeah,
opposite.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. All types of things. But
Got it.
fascinating stuff. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how they move things around,
Yeah.
and what that means, and will those divisions still, again, because they're calling it a merger, I would imagine that their divisions would probably stay similar to the way they are now. But can you imagine if, like, I don't know, I can't even imagine an app that houses Max, Discovery, and Paramount, like MTV
Yeah.
and all of the, and CBS and all
It's a
of
lot.
Showtime. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And so it would probably be wiser, like you said, to do that bundle situation.
Yeah.
But who knows? It hasn't happened yet. That's what's said to be happening possibly soon. I
Yeah.
wonder will the FTC get involved?
Hmm. I mean,
Because the Federal
I'm sure
Trade
there's
Commission
some.
is usually who steps in when these
Yeah.
type of things are happening. But they let Disney do a lot of shit, so maybe not. Because
I'm
Disney
sure.
owns like fucking everything.
I'm sure they have to. I'm sure they have to stick to certain guidelines, though.
That's what I'm saying. So I wonder.
You know.
Because that's what makes me curious if the FTC is going to get involved because this is a huge merger and one just happened. I mean, the Discovery Warner Brothers one just happened.
Yeah. What I'm
So,
saying is, I would think that their lawyers are already prepared for whatever the FTC guidelines are. So,
okay. Okay.
if that's the case, then they're already involved because they set the guidelines and they have to follow them, or they have to find the loopholes so they could get around the
That
guidelines.
was a good point. That's a good point.
So, um, So we'll see, but really interesting, really fascinating. This is definitely up my wheelhouse. I'm really interested in
Yeah, well, that's why I
what's
said, oh, I'm
gonna
curious what you
happen.
think about it.
I mean, I hope that means, better wages for the people over at Paramount.
Psych.
I mean, they could do better.
On that note, time to go.
Yep.